welcome to a summary of the BBC World News. I'm Martine Dennis. Now, tens of thousands of people in Russia are gathering in Moscow and indeed around the country in what opposition groups are claiming will be the biggest demonstrations in Russia for 20 years or so. Now, the Moscow authorities have authorised a rally for 30,000 people. But around 13,000 people have already signed up online to join a demonstration in St. Petersburg. But let's take a look now around the country. Let's start with our correspondent Steve Rosenberg, who's in central Moscow. You're looking at the live shot now, which is, I understand, is the bridge crossing the Volga River to Bolotnaya Square, which is where the authorised protest is due to take place. And as you can see, thousands, it looks like, thousands of people already en route to that protest. Steve Rosenberg is there among them somewhere. Steve, describe what the scene is around you.
Yes, I'm on the embankment, one side of the Kremlin, walking with a group of protesters towards that anti-government rally. I have to say, I haven't seen scenes like this in Moscow for years. A huge crowd of protesters are on their way to protest against the government, to express their anger with Vladimir Putin, and to call for fresh elections. Many of these protesters gathered on a different square, Revolution Square, much closer to the Kremlin. They formed groups and then they've been walking, making the half-an-hour walk from Revolution Square to Bolotnaya Square. A long line of police are lining the street. We've seen ordinary police, riot police too, making sure, trying to keep order here. As you say, tens of thousands of people are expected at that rally later today. It's due to get underway in a short while. I've been talking to some of the protesters. There's a lot of anger here. Many people here believe that the parliamentary election that took place a week ago was rigged. And it's brought people out onto the streets. They want to express their anger. They want the government to listen to them and to treat them as their citizens.
So, Steve, are we witnessing something new in Russia to find so many people with so much anger about allegations of elections not being carried out in the proper, free and fair manner, and then prepared to take to the streets to show their anger?
There's no doubt that we are witnessing something new. Where this will lead is unclear. This is the very beginning, but this is very new. Over the last few years, we have seen much smaller protests against the government, even against Vladimir Putin. Tiny protests, which have often ended with the protesters being arrested. Today, we're talking about thousands, possibly tens of thousands of people coming out to express their frustration with what's happening in the country. But it's a strange mixture of people. We have, I think there are communist flags being held in the air, the old Soviet flags too. There are the flags of Russian nationalist groups being held high as well. And there are Russian liberals, Western-leaning liberals among the group here too. So the opposition is not a united group. There are very different interests, very different ideals amongst them. But today, they've come together, as I say, to express their anger with what happened at the elections a week ago.
Now, Steve, obviously you're in the central part of Moscow where we're witnessing the live scenes around you. Now, we've also seen further east in Russia, of course, it covers, 7 time zones, Vladivostok, where people were the first to come out today. And we're looking at a picture from Vladivostok a little bit earlier today, and we're hearing reports of St. Petersburg as well, people turning out onto the streets. So it seems as though this is way beyond just the capital, Moscow. This is driving people out into the streets across the country. But for now, that is all from Russia. Of course, our correspondents will keep us right up to date with the situation across the country as the day progresses.
A national show of defiance in Russia as tens of thousands take to the streets to demand a rerun of elections they claim were rigged. Welcome to BBC World News. I'm Peter Dobbie. Tens of thousands of people have been demonstrating in Russia today, calling for a rerun of last weekend's parliamentary elections. They say the vote, narrowly won by the governing United Russia party, was fraudulent. The authorities in Moscow sanctioned a rally of 30,000 people in the capital. Police say that 25,000 gathered there. The Russian Electoral Commission, in its final ruling on Friday, declared the election was free and fair. Live now to Moscow, and our correspondent Daniel Sanford. Daniel, if your name's Vladimir Putin, you must be looking at these pictures thinking, well, I've never really experienced anything like this ever before.
No, he hasn't. He had a moment of unpopularity very early on in his first presidency when the Kursk submarine sank, and there was very strong anti-Vladimir Putin sentiment at that time, but it was short-lived, and it was about one particular issue. But now suddenly he's faced with a real upswell of opinion that's very much targeted not just against these elections, which are really widely seen as being unfair, but also to a degree against him. He's seen as being the man who runs the country after all, and so if there was cheating at the elections, then in some way that's also his fault, and that's certainly been the sentiment out on the street today. Primarily these demonstrations were about calling for fresh elections, but they are also a problem for Vladimir Putin. They could become more of a problem if they carry on and if he doesn't handle them properly.
Are these demonstrations, are we talking about them being seen as a...
They're a potential game changer. I think that's the best way we can put it. They're certainly a very significant moment because it's, as it were, the political reawakening of Russia. For the last 12 years, people have been happy to leave politics to other people. They've got on with getting jobs and getting nice cars and leading life a bit more like other Europeans. But now they're saying, well, that isn't really enough. We want some more. We want some control back over our own lives. And that is a key moment. But whether it's a game changer, I'm not sure. I think that will depend on whether this is a one-off or whether these protests build and build over the next few months.
Briefly, Daniel, is it the election result or what we think might have happened with the election result? Is that the tipping point, or have there been other factors in Mr. Putin's time in power?
Well, strangely, the key moment for me this year was September, when Vladimir Putin said he was going to run for the presidency again. And that was the moment people started saying to me, they treat us like idiots, they think we're fools. Because the way it was done, it was like, well, actually we agreed all along that I'd come back and be president. And that was the moment, and then we got the booing at the martial arts game, and then we got the big loss in the election that United Russia still won, and then this sense of outrage when it became apparent that there had been so much cheating at the elections.
OK, Daniel, thanks very much. Daniel Sanford in Moscow there. Well, demonstrations are reported to have taken place in more than 50 other cities across Russia. Police say 7,000 people turned out for a protest in St. Petersburg, where there were some minor scuffles. Richard Galpin is there for us.
Well, this is the main demonstration here in the city of St. Petersburg. It's in a square not far from the city centre, and as you can see, it is a big crowd which has gathered here, certainly in the thousands, going right the way across the other side there, and also spilling out onto the street on the other side of the main road. So it is a big crowd here, perhaps not quite as big as some had expected, but certainly pretty sizable. A lot of students here, but also some older people as well. And the main demand we have heard has been they want the election which was held in the Duma, in the parliament on Sunday, that it should be cancelled, it should be annulled, because they say there was massive rigging of the vote to enable the ruling party, United Russia, to win. And we've had, from the people up there on the stage, we've had a lot of speeches calling for that, in fact describing the election as a farce. Some speakers indeed saying that the Prime Minister Vladimir Putin should step down, that he should go. So it's been a strong message from this demonstration, but I have to say it's been very calm, it's been well organised, and there's not been any trouble or any serious trouble, at least so far. We did see a few scuffles, not here actually, but in another part of town, but quickly over. A number of people were dragged away, but certainly here it has been calm and well organised.